Hello students, welcome to YouTube session. In this session, we are going to discuss on the chapter arrays. In the previous session, we have discussed regarding what is array and why do we need arrays. So array is an homogeneous collection of elements which is having same name and same data type. And as we know, array is used to store the large collection of elements and allocates the memory in a contiguous form. And all these array elements will be having the same name and data type. As we are storing the large collection of elements, each elements will be numbered from 0 to n minus 1. And these numbers are called as indices or the subscripts. These indices or the subscript indicates the position of the element within an array. So if we consider the example, the array name as A, so it can be accessed as A of 0, A of 1 and so on up to A of n minus 1. So A of 0 indicates the first element of an array, whereas A of n minus 1 indicates the last element of the array. So in general, we say it as A of I is the element which is present at the position I. Next, we have discussed regarding the types of array. So there are three types of array: one-dimensional, two-dimensional and multi-dimensional array. We had a detailed discussion regarding the one-dimensional array. So as we know, one-dimensional array is a homogeneous collection of elements which is having same name and data type by using only one subscript. Here subscript indicates the indices or the size of the array. In one dimensional, we have seen three things. The first one is the declaration of array, then initialization of the array, followed by the accessing of the array. The syntax to declare one-dimensional array is data type, array name, then into bracket size, and it ends with the semicolon. So first we are going to specify the data type, then the array name, and then how many elements we want to store. Once you declare an array, the next step is you need to initialize the values for the array elements. So the syntax for initializing the one-dimensional array is data type, array name, size, assignment operator, and then the set of values. And it ends with the semicolon. So once you declare, the next step is initialization of the array. The final step is the accessing or storing the values. Once you declare and initialize, we need to store the elements or we need to access the elements. As we say, it is a large collection of elements. So here we are going to access the elements with the help of the looping construct. By using any of the looping construct, we can access the elements. That means we can either read or print the array elements. Next, we have seen few example programs on one-dimensional array. So in this session, we are going to study the next topic, which is nothing but the two-dimensional array. So two-dimensional array is homogeneous collection of elements which is having same name and same data type by using two subscripts. Here we are going to declare two subscript, wherein the first subscript indicates the row size and the second subscript indicates the column size. So it is also a homogeneous collection of the elements, that is similar kind of the elements, and all the elements will be having the same name as well as the data type, but here it consists of two subscript, the row size and column size. This two-dimensional matrix, or we can say this two-dimensional array, is used for, or it is used to represent the matrix application. Or I can say here in two-dimensional array, the data can be represented in a tabular form. When we say tabular form, we mean to say that the number of rows and the number of columns. As you can see in a diagram, we have taken the two-dimensional array of the order 3 cross 6. Here, 3 rows we have represented and 6 columns we have represented. So it is an example of two-dimensional array. So two-dimensional array is a homogeneous collection of elements which is having same name and same data type. As we have seen the definition of array and its representation, let us move to the next point, that is the declaration of two-dimensional array. So as we know, before using any variable in the program, we need to declare it first. So in the same fashion, the two-dimensional array, when you want to use it in a program, we need to declare it first. So the syntax for declaring the two-dimensional array is data type followed by the array name, then the first subscript indicates the row size and the second subscript indicates the column size, and it ends with the semicolon. So data type, array name, row size and column size. Let me take one example for this one. So the data type we have taken as integer. The name of the array is ABC. The first subscript you can see the 5, which indicates the row size, and the second subscript indicates the column size. That means 4. So this can be represented either in the tabular form, which consists of the number of rows and columns, or it can be represented in the matrix application. So here 5 rows and 4 columns we have taken, and all these 5 rows and 4 columns are having the same name as ABC, and it is going to store the integer value. As you can see in the diagram, we have taken 5 rows and 4 columns. The first row or the first block contains the name as ABC and 2 subscript there, that is 0 and 0. The first subscript indicates it is the first row and the second subscript indicates the first column. So first row and first column, and the name of the array is ABC. Similarly, we have taken ABC 0, 1, which indicates the first row and the second column. Similarly, ABC 0, 2, which indicates the first row and the third column, and so on. So based on the size of the array, that is the row size and column size, the data will be represented here. So two-dimensional array is the representation of a data in terms of rows and columns. Once you declare an array, the next step is to initialize the two-dimensional array. So like one-dimensional array, we can initialize two-dimensional array either by initializing in its declaration or by using the assignment statement. So let us see the syntax of initializing two-dimensional array. So data type, array name, row size and column size, assignment operator, then the set of values, and ends with the semicolon. So data type, array name, row size and column size, assignment operator, set of values. Let us see one example for this. The data type we can consider it as int, then the array name as A. In the brackets we have specified as 2 and 3, which indicates there are 2 rows and 3 columns. So altogether it will be 2 3s are 6. So altogether it is 6 elements. So we have assigned the elements as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. So it is a two-dimensional array which contains 2 rows and 3 columns, and the assignment would be, you can see in the diagram here, in two-dimensional array, the representation of the elements will be done row wise. So we have represented the first one. There are two rows. A of 0, 0, that means first row and the first column has been stored with the value 10. Similarly, A of 0, 1, 0 means the first row and the second column stored with the value 20. Similarly, A of 0, 1 stored with the value 30. When it comes to second row, the representation or the assignment will change. It will be A of 1, 0. That means the second row and the first column. As you can see in the diagram, we have marked the first row and column from the 0. So it will be taking as 1, 0, 1, 1 and 1, 2. So A of 1, 0 will be assigned 40. A of 1, 1 will be assigned as 50. And A of 1, 2, which is the second row and the third column with the value as 60. Let us see one more example. Int A of 2, 3. That means again 2 rows and 3 columns we have taken, but values we have specified in the brackets there. So how the assignment will be done? Let us look at that. A of 0, 0. That means first row and first column will be initialized with 1. Similarly, A of 0, 1 will be initialized with again 1. But for the one more column, they have not initialized anything. So it is going to consider it as 0. A of 0, 1 as 0. Similarly, the second row and the first column, A of 1, 0 is initialized with the 2. But for the remaining thing, they have not mentioned any value. So it will be assigned as 0. So A of 1, 1 with the value as 0 and A of 1, 2 as the value as 0. So in case of two-dimensional array, the representation of the elements will be done row-wise. Once you declare and initialize the array, the next step is accessing the array elements. That means if you want to read the array elements or print the elements, then you can do so by considering these examples. Now let us see the declaration as int A of 2, 3, which indicates here the array name is A and we are considering 2 rows and 3 columns. So the first subscript indicates the row size and the second subscript indicates the column size. That means altogether there are 6 elements into the array and we need to use the nested for loops. That means the first for loop indicates the row and the second for loop indicates the column. If outer loop is for rows, then the inner loop is for column. Then for each row index, all the columns are processed and the same process is repeated for the next row index. So in this example, we have considered 2 rows and 3 columns. Altogether 6 elements are there. So how to read and print the elements, that we'll see by the following program fragment. So let us see the first part. We have written cout enter the elements. That means I'm going to read the elements or I'm going to accept the elements from the keyboard. Here in this example, we have taken 2 for loops, wherein the first for loop indicates the row and the second for loop indicates the column. First for loop is called as the outer loop and the second for loop is called as the inner loop. So how it will be processed, that we'll see. For I is equal to 0, initialized the I value. I is less than 2. It is going to check the condition. 0 is less than 2. The condition is true here. So once the condition is true, it will jump to the inner loop. Again, initially j is set to 0. J is less than 3. That means 0 is less than 3. Again, the condition is true and it is going to read the first element of the two-dimensional array. That is A of ij. A of 0th row and 0th column. 0, 0. So first element will be read from the keyboard. Now it is going to process first the inner loop. Now j value will get incremented. J will become 1. Again the condition will be checked. 1 is less than 3, the condition is true. Now it is going to read A of 0, 1. That means the first row and the second column. As we know, the elements will be represented here row wise. So first here it is going to complete with the inner loop. Once the condition fails, then it will jump to the outer loop. So once the condition fails, it jumps to the outer loop. At that time, I value will get incremented. I will become 1. 1 is less than 2. Again the condition will be checked. If the condition is true, it will again jump to the inner loop. This inner loop again starts from 0 and again checks the condition, and once the condition is true, it will accept the next element. So this process will be continued until both the loops, that means inner and outer loop, fails. So to print the above 6 elements, you can see the 2 rows and 3 columns are there. So for that, the program fragment will be Cout the elements are. Now again, for printing, you are going to consider the 2 for loops, one for row, another for the column. So the first for loop, you can see we have initialized I is equal to 0. 0 is less than 2. The condition is true. It will come to the inner loop. Now j is initialized to 0. J is less than 3. That means 0 is less than 3. The condition is true. Now it is going to print the first element of the array. Once the condition is true, it will come to the next statement here, A of 0, 0. So the element which you have read from the keyboard, the first element, that will be printed on the screen. Now it is going to go back to the j loop. J will get incremented. It will become 1. 1 is less than 3. Again the condition is true. Now it is going to print the second element which is present in that row. So this will be continued until the j loop fails. Once it fails, it will go back to the outer loop, that is I loop, and again I will get incremented. It will check the condition and again it comes back to the inner loop. So this process will be continuous until both the loops fails here. Once both the loop fails, it will come out of that block and executes the remaining statements that are there in the program. So this is how the accessing or the reading or the printing of the array elements will be done. So we are going to see further this one with an example. The first example program is to read the elements into the array and print those elements. That means we are going to declare the two-dimensional array. We are going to consider here the order of the matrix, that is the number of rows as well as the number of columns. Once you get to know the number of rows and columns, we are going to accept the array elements. That means we are going to read the elements from the keyboard and the same elements has to get printed on the screen. This is regarding the program. So let us see how to write this program. As you can see, we have considered here 3 header files. Hash include iostream.h, hash include conio.h, and hash include iomanep.h. So iostream.h stands for input output stream header file, which stores the 2 objects here, that is cin and cout. Cin for accepting the values and cout for displaying the values. Similarly, the next one is conio.h, that is console input output header file, which stores the 2 functions here, that is the clear screen and getch function. And the last one is iomanip.h, that is input output manipulator.h. Whenever we want to format the given data or the data is to be represented in a particular format, then we use this header file. So the functions like setw and setfill are stored in this header file. As we all know, the program always consists of the main function and execution always begins from the main function. So void main we have written. Next we have declared all the variables one by one. So a of 5, 5, which indicates 5 rows and 5 columns are there. Then I, j, m, n, which are of the type integer. Here m and n indicates the row and column, that is the order of the matrix. So we have mentioned enter the order. That means with the help of the keyboard, I am going to enter the order of the matrix, that is row and column. So in the example you can see we have taken the number of rows as 2 and number of columns as 3. The maximum rows what they have mentioned is in the declaration as 5, 5. So out of that we have taken 2 rows and 3 columns. Once you get to know the order of the matrix, the next step is to read the array elements. So to read the array elements, as I told you, we need to consider the nested for loop. So you can see in the example, we have taken 2 for loop. One is for row, another is for column. The first for loop indicates the outer loop and the second for loop indicates the inner loop. So initially we have set I is equal to 0. 0 is less than, the m value is 2. 0 is less than 2. The condition is true. So it will jump to the inner loop now. J is 0. 0 is less than n. N value is 3. So 0 is less than 3. The condition is true. Now it is going to accept or read the first element of the array with the help of the keyboard. That is A of 0, 0. After accepting that, again it will go back to the J loop. Until the condition fails in the J loop, it will be keep on incrementing and keeps on accepting the values. Once the J loop fails here, it will go back to the outer loop and increments the value of I. Now this time I will become 1. 1 is less than 2. Again the condition is true. It will come back to the inner loop. Again J begins with the 0. So 0 is less than 3, the condition is true. Again it will accept the element. So this process will be continued until both the loop fails here. Next is, after accepting the array elements, we need to display the array elements. So when you want to display the array elements, you have to consider 2 for loops. One for row, another for column. So we have taken setW function which indicates the set width. That means after each and every element it is going to give the space of 5. 5 width will be given and then each element will be displayed on the screen which you have read from the keyboard. So earlier we have already accepted the value, students. The same values will be displayed with the help of these 2 for loops. So again I will be set to 0. Again it is going to check the condition. If it is true, it will jump to the inner loop. So again this process will be continued until both the loop fails here and it will be keep on displaying all the elements. So in the output you can see enter the order 2, 3. That means 2 rows and 3 columns are there. Enter the elements. We have entered the elements. Altogether it will be 6 elements, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. And the same elements has been declared. Now let us see one more example program wherein we'll find the sum of row elements of a matrix. That means if 2 or more rows are there in a given matrix, we are going to find the sum of each row of a given matrix. So let us see with the program. We have considered 3 header files here. Hash include iostream.h, conio.h and iomanip.h. IOStream stands for input output stream header file. That means it includes the objects like cout and cin. Conio.h, which stands for console input output header file, which includes the functions like clear screen and getch. And the last one is iomanip.h, that is input output manipulator. In order to format the data, we need to have this header file. It includes the function like setW and setfill. As we know, execution always begins from the main function. So each and every program need to have the main program. So after that, we are going to declare all the variables which we are going to use in the program. So we can see here, we have declared a 2-dimensional array A of 5, 5, which indicates the maximum of 5 rows and 5 columns we are going to consider. M and N indicates here the row, that is M, and N indicates the column. And one more variable we have considered, the row sum, which is going to store the sum of each row in that variable. And then I and j we have considered, and all are of the type integer. Then we have taken enter the order. That means we are going to first enter the order of the matrix. Once we get to know the order of the matrix, then based on that we are going to accept the array elements. So here enter the order, we are going to read or we are going to accept the values m and n. So in the example you can see m value we have taken as 2 and n value we have taken as 3. That means 2 rows and 3 columns. So based on that we are going to read the elements one by one. So enter the elements. That means we are going to accept the elements with the help of the keyboard. Now again we have to consider here two for loops, that is the nested for loops, one for row, another for the column. So first one is called as the outer loop and the second one is called as the inner loop. Initially I has been set to 0. 0 is less than m. M value is 2 here. So the condition is true. It will jump to the inner loop. Now j has been set to 0. 0 is less than n, which is nothing but 3 here. Again the condition is true. That means it is going to read the first element of the array. And then j will get incremented. J will become 1. 1 is less than 3. The condition is true. Now it is going to read a of 0, 1. That means the second element, first row, second column's element it is going to read. So this will continue until the j loop fails. Once the j loop fails, it will jump to the outer loop, that is I, and I will get incremented. It will become 1. And again it will check the condition, 1 is less than 2. The condition is true here. Again aj will be initialized with the 0 and it will keep on checking the condition. Once the condition fails, again it will jump back to the outer loop. So this process will be continued until the outer loop fails. Once the outer loop fails, it will come to the remaining statements that are there in the program. The next statement is matrix with the row sum. So you can see we have taken the first for loop for row here. I has been set to 0. 0 is less than 2. The condition is true. Initially the row sum has been set to 0 because we don't know the value of the sum. So we have taken initially the row sum is equal to 0. Then we have taken one more for loop for column here. And we have taken the formula as row sum is equal to row sum plus a of ij. So initially row sum is 0 plus a of ij. So initially I will be 0 and j has been set to 0 and it is going to read the first element, which is nothing but the 10. So it is going to add 0 plus 10 and the new value has been stored in the row sum variable, which is the 10. Now again it is going to increment the value of j. J will become 1. 1 is less than 2. The condition is true. Now it is going to read the next element and it is going to find the sum. So this process will be again continued until the outer loop will get failed. Once the outer loop will get failed, it will come out of the loop and it will print the row sum. So you can see in the example, the order of the matrix has been taken as 2 and 3. We have entered the elements as 10, 20, 30 and 40, 50, 60. So you can see 2 rows we have taken and 3 columns we have taken. The sum of the row of first element is 60 and similarly the second row elements is 150. So this is how we can find the row sum of a given matrix. So now we have seen the row sum of a given matrix. Now let us see one more example by adding two matrices. So in this program, we are going to consider two matrices. We are going to accept the values for the two matrices and then we are going to add those elements. So for this, we have included the two header files iostream.h and conio.h, which stores the cout and cin object in IOStream and getCH and clear screen function in conio.h. So execution begins from the main function. Then we have declared the variables which we are going to use in the program. Here M and N indicates the row and the column. Similarly, you can see we have declared two-dimensional matrix, that is A and B. A as 10, 10 we have specified, which indicates the 10 rows and 10 columns maximum we can consider for the first matrix. Similarly for the second matrix. One more variable we have taken, that is the two-dimensional array we have considered, that is sum of 10, 10. That means this variable will be helpful for us to store the final resultant matrix value. Now let us see the next statement. Enter the order of the matrix. So in this one, first we are going to read the order of the matrix. That means how many rows and columns we want. So in this example, we have taken 2 rows and 2 columns. Next, we have to read the elements of the first matrix. That means here the first elements or the first matrix element will be 2 cross 2. 2 rows and 2 columns will be there. For that, we have taken 2 for loops. One as the outer for loop, another as the inner for loop. So the process of reading will be done as, first it is going to execute the outer for loop. It will check the condition. If the condition is true, it will jump to the inner for loop. Initially, the j has been set to 0. 0 is less than 2. The condition is true. So it is going to accept the first value for the first matrix. Now again, j will get incremented. J will become 1. 1 is less than 2. Again, the condition is true. It is going to read a of 0, 1. That is means next element's value it is going to read. Now again, j will get incremented. J is 2. 2 is less than 2. This time the condition fails here. Now it will go back to the outer loop. I value will get incremented. Now it will check the condition. If the condition is true, it will again come back to the inner loop. So this process will be again continued until the outer loop condition fails. So once it fails, it will stop accepting the elements. And it will come to the next statement, which is the enter the elements of the second matrix. Now it is going to read the second elements matrix. So 2 for loops again we have considered here. One for outer, which indicates the row, and the second one indicates the column. Now again we are going to read the second elements matrix one by one. So in the example you can see we have taken the order of the matrix as 2 cross 2, which is the 4 elements. So first element matrix we are going to read here, and similarly the elements of the second matrix we are going to read. So 10, 20, 30 and 40 are the elements of the first matrix, and 50, 60, 70, 80 are the elements of the second matrix. Once we get to know the elements of first and second matrix, we need to add the values. How this addition will be performed now? See the example. 10 and 50 will be added together. Similarly, 20 and 60 will be added together. 30 and 70, then 40 and 80, and it is need to be displayed with the sum. To display that one, we have to write the code of fragment by taking the nested for loop. And within that, we are going to compute the sum of two matrices by adding sum of ij is equal to a of ij plus b of ij, wherein a of ij indicates the element of first matrix, b of ij indicates the element of the second matrix. So both it is going to add together and display the final resultant value. Once it will come out of the loop, it will display the final value of the given matrix. So in this program, first we are going to read the order of the matrix, that is 2 cross 2 we have taken. Then we are going to read the elements of the first matrix. Then we are going to read the elements of the second matrix. Then both will be added together and it will be displaying the sum of two matrices. Next type is multi-dimensional array. A multi-dimensional array is an array of n dimensions. An array with more than 2 subscript or indices is called as multi-dimensional array. Let us see the syntax of multi-dimensional array. The data type, array name, then the subscript, size 1, 2 and 3. Let us see this with one example. Data type as integer, the array name as A, and then we have mentioned the indices for the multi-dimensional array. So here the total number of elements that can be stored in a multi-dimensional array can be calculated by multiplying the size of all dimensions. It is an advantage over two-dimensional array. As in two-dimensional array, it consists of only 2 subscript or the indices. That is, data is represented only in the two-dimensional format, which consists of only rows and columns, whereas in multi-dimensional array it is not so. So it is advantageous over the two-dimensional array. Students, now we have seen in this session and the previous session regarding the arrays and its types. So whenever we study any topic, we need to understand its advantages and disadvantages as well. So let us see the advantages of array one by one. So in an array, the accessing of element is easy by using the index number. As we know, array, when it is declared, it will be declared with its index number. So we know at what position the element has been stored. The next one is the search process can be applied to an array easily. So whenever you are searching an element, it will be easy for us to search, as we are going to compare each element with the search element in an array. And at the same time, we know the index value of a particular element. It will be easy for us to search the element. Next one is two-dimensional array is used to represent the matrix. The data will be represented in a tabular form or it can be represented in the matrix form. Next is the disadvantages of array. Array is of fixed size. Once you declare an array, then that much amount of memory will be allocated for that array. So if you want to change the size of the array, you have to come back to the program, you have to change the size, and then you have to make the program accordingly. So arrays of fixed size, you cannot change during the runtime. Next one is arrays homogeneous. That means similar kind of elements we are going to store in an array. So if you declare an array of integer, that means all the array elements will be of the type integer. If I declare like int a of 10, then all the 10 elements will be of the type integer here. Then insertion and deletion is not easy in case of arrays. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of array. Students, as we are at the end of the session, I have listed few questions for your reference, which consist of 1 mark and 5 mark question. Please go through it. All the best.